Hi, everyone. This is an overview of the lesson plan that is the next. So we will be using the lesson plan form, and this is just an overview of some of the component parts of that. To think back, we will look at the information processing model and look at how that can guide us in our lesson planning. So think about the sensory memory part and how we might focus our student or learner attention, getting their attention through some educational strategy to begin with. And then secondly, we want to make sure that the content or the skill that the learner is to accomplish gets moved into the working memory and that they interact with that content. And then finally, we want to make sure that it gets encoded, stored, and is able to be retrieved as the last step. So all three of those components should be part of the underlying emphasis on the lesson plan. And so remember the format can be either in the lesson plan form format, as you see here, or you can take each of the component parts and develop it into the format of your own choice. The emphasis is on that each component just needs to be addressed. So let's get started with the first parts. And if we think about what is the overall goal or the main content or session of the session that you want to address. So think about what the main skill or concept that you are working towards with the learners. It might be something related to a program outcome, or maybe there's a section or a module that you're developing and it wants to fit into that. How this piece of this one session fits into the overall goal. And then you want to assess the learner's knowledge or what experience they already bring. Have they had previous content on this, or do they come with some experiences that they can use here, or do you need to assess that? So this is mainly thinking about what does the learner already bring to the experience. And then if we move down the form, what are the enduring understandings, the major concepts, those key things that you want the learner to take away following this session? Taking away meaning that it's retained in long-term memory and can be retrieved. So these might be in a 45 to 90-minute session. These might be 2 to 5 things rather than lots and lots of content. What are those major things that you really want them to grasp, understand, and be able to then have knowledge about, the skills and values to do? So those are maybe the sub things that follow the enduring understandings. And for each of those enduring understandings, you can intrigue the learner by asking some essential questions. How can you help them anticipate what the content is going to be about and engage them in thinking about either their past experiences or maybe how they value something? So moving on, the assessment measures. How will you know when the learner has achieved the enduring understandings that you are focusing on? How will you measure them? How will you evaluate them? And the lesson plan talks about these as assessment measures. That's what lots of educational theories talk about. From a nursing or health profession standpoint, sometimes we talk more about the evaluation measures, not to be confused with the pre-learning assessment that you do about the learner, what they bring to it. But this is more than the outcome assessment that you would do at the end. And then they should be congruent with the learning objectives that you develop. The learning objectives should flow from the enduring understandings, making sure that you're covering the content that you really said you wanted to address, but then also, are they congruent with the measurements that you're going to do? So if you say that you want, like in this instance, that you're I would want you to create a lesson plan, then it would be that both the outcome measure or the evaluation would be that you create it versus having a learning objective that would say that for this activity you would identify the component parts. So that would be more the cognitive versus the psychomotor, and it wouldn't be at the same level. So you want them to be congruent with both what the content from the enduring understanding as well as your assessment measures will be. And when we talk about objectives, we will talk beyond the cognitive, psychomotor, and affective and spend just a brief time talking about some other objectives that other theorists also include. And then lots of times we focus so much attention on the learning activities, and we certainly want to make sure that we have good learning activities, but really we want to intentionally think about the information processing components and what is the theory or the cognitive science part that supports the learning activities that we are going to use to make sure that that content, that those enduring understandings are really going into the brain of the learner. So we want to make sure that we teach with the brain in mind. And then if we move on to the content, lots of times people start with the content versus these other things that we've said needs to be the intentional part. But if you focus on, okay, these are the 3 or 4 things that are key to this session, then we won't get as likely the content saturation that we see so much. So we want to avoid that and making sure that we focus on those skills and knowledge that help with those enduring understandings. So for this assignment, you only need to have a content outline. You're already a content expert, so it's not that that will be where we will be spending our time for this assignment. And then finally, the lesson plan. What is necessary to carry out the plan? What resources do you need? So think about if you need dry erase markers or technology, projector, those kinds of things. And then where is the best place? A seminar room, a room where they can move desks around easily to get in small groups. What is the environment that you want to create? And then also planning for the time, estimating how much time each activity should probably take, and then what can you eliminate if you run out of time? What extra things should you plan to include if, say, the learners seem to be moving through the content and the activities faster, and then keeping in mind that lots of the research says that there needs to be a different kind of activity every 10 to 15 minutes. So with all those things in mind, we will encourage you to use these kinds of ideas as you develop your lesson plan. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. I look forward to seeing your work. Thanks. Bye.